Hey guys, Null Puppet here, and today we have an interesting subject for a video. What are the specific mechanics of my gender identity? Well, to find that, we must first define some rules. This will be a completely scientific approach to some theoretical scenarios that I may or may not face in my lifetime. This will be the least biased form it can take, however, that will obviously fluctuate when trying to scientifically analyze the properties of an identity. And with that said, let's begin. I identify as genderless, more accurately defined as agender under the non-binary umbrella. To represent this, let's look at a graph. On this graph we have two clearly defined endpoints, boy on the left and girl on the right, with multiple points in between. If I were to ask someone where they would put themselves on the line, and then they put a point here, you would find that they consider themselves a boy. That's very clear. That's the same as if they put a point here. They would be a girl. So what if they put a point here? Well, as you can see, on a binary scale, the only answers are boy, 0, and girl, 1. This would be a decimal, clearly denoting a non-binary scale. But what's interesting about this is that this is still a point on the line. Now let's ask myself, where would I put a point on this line? Did you see that? That wasn't a camera trick. I didn't put a point on the line. That's because I do not find my gender identity anywhere on this line graph. Let's make this a little more clear with a second graphical representation. This is what I would describe as a more accurate chart. Now let's define any infinity on the y-axis is more towards the girl, and anything on the x-axis more towards the boy. Now, on this line, which is represented as 1 over x, let's find where 0 is. Right here. Now, is that on either this or this 1 over x line? No, it's undefined. You could consider it null. This idea of being 0.00 on a 1 over x graph leads to my next point. Some people may ask what pronouns to use for what I lovingly refer to as a genderless husk. I find this definition quite simple. Logically, referring to a single boy would be he, right? Correct? Now you are referring to one boy as one he. So if you were to be faced by someone who on this graph is somewhere here, let's say here, which would, be somewhere in the middle, or maybe even multiple genders. Let's put them also here, I guess. It would be easier to refer to them as a plural pronoun because you are referring to two identities. Now, you might say that this doesn't fit for someone who is undefined, null, without gender. But let me break it down for you. I have in my hand 2 sewing needles. I have 1 sewing needle. I now have 0 sewing needles. Now, if you noticed, it sounds correct when you define 0 as a plural. Therefore, you would also be referring to me, who has 0 identity, as a they. Now, for what is arguably the most important topic, sexuality. This topic starts with what seems like a simple question. Could I be heterosexual? Now, some would say that if I was solely attracted to women, that would be me being straight. That would be false, because as we've seen, I don't fit onto this line. And if we look closely at the definition of heterosexual, we would see that it's people of the opposite gender. Now hold on, what is the opposite of 0? What is the opposite of null? We have an easy answer for homosexuality. It's if I'm only attracted to another genderless husk, 0 to 0. And if we think about this as homosexual, it becomes a lot more clear what becomes heterosexual. that would be a 0, me, to any relationship. Just anything. I am straight if I have an attraction to gender, just to any gendered individual. Obviously, there are words like androsexual or gynosexual that specifically refer to boy presenting or girl presenting, but for me to be truly heterosexual, I need to find attraction in either gender. I need to find attraction in gender. It's fascinating stuff. Now, what does this all wrap up to? Well, there are three main things. That I have no gender. I'm referred to by they / them. And if I were to be straight, which I'm not, I would have to have attraction in gender. In gender. And let's have just one more fully fitting conclusion. Happy Pride Month. Don't let anyone get you down. Goodbye.